What's good, YouTube? I'm about to go live here in a second. Just bear with me. Connecting with my Facebook group too. Let's see. Here we go. How's that? That's a little bit better. All right, I am live officially in my Facebook group. What's good, everybody? Anybody out there checking in? I'm gonna get started here, guys, in a moment. Just posting some couple things in here. How's everybody doing on this fine Monday? Everybody good? Everybody living their best life? Should love Mondays. Should love them. All right. Well, for practicalities here, I'm recording and this will drop as a podcast as well. So bear with me on the credential pieces. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome to another great episode of Framing New Heights. My name is Michael Hicks. I'm your host with the most. And today, I'm super uberly excited to talk to you about sleep. Yes, sleep. The topic that so many Americans don't get enough of. And they think that we often hear the term even, we'll sleep when we are dead. I'm going to break all that down tonight, and thank you all for joining me. So, let me just see if we got any comments or good. No, we do not. Okay. So, you probably read the topic, you guys, and you were like thinking, well, we already know what sleep is, Michael. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you slept for 8 straight hours? When's the last time? Show of hands. Here we go. If sleep and that question makes you cringe, don't feel bad. Because a lot of adults don't get enough sleep. How many are like, yep, that's me, Michael. That is me to a T. Now, there's a growing sleep shortage. In the larger population of adults, which is why many people, are you guys ready for this? You ready? And I often talk about this. My whole Live to Thrive programming is about mind, body, and soul. Most people, the larger population of adults, here's the statement. Write this down. Put in your journal. Here is why people are tired and sick. It's because they have a sleep shortage. All right, let me break this down a little bit. So people in modern society, like often now, push sleep aside for more important things to do, right? So how many of you like, okay, Netflix special is on, I'm going to stay up and watch that Netflix special, right? And then you're just dreading the alarm clock when it happens because you're 2 hours past your window of sleep. But let me ask you guys this question. What could be more important than sleep? Can anybody just drop it down in the chat right now? What is more important than sleep? You know, I'll say this really quick because I actually had a sleep study. And the doctor that I had talked about the bed, right? Now, your bed itself is for 2 things, you guys. All right? And I got this straight from the sleep doctor. It's the 2 S's. It's sleep and it's sex. And as adults, how many of you just lay aimlessly in your bed, scrolling, watching TV, which I'm going to get into that, or even reading a book? How many are like, I'm just going to read a book? No. If you get anything off of this podcast tonight, Your bed is for two things. It's for sleep and it's for sex. Because well, first of all, there's nothing more important than sleep, you guys. And I'm going to break all that down and tell you why sleep is so important. So in the next little bit here, you're going to understand why sleep is necessary for a balanced life, which is vital for the mind, the body, and the soul, right? Here's a statistic, crazy statistic. Guess what? Besides accidents, heart attacks, things of that nature, tons of accidents are actually a result of, guess what? Fatigued driver at the wheel. I have a newer vehicle. It's a 2024 Bronco. And sometimes I'm just calling it what it is here because I know you guys like to hear stories. Sometimes I don't get the opportunity to, well, I'm not, when I'm driving itself, it has lanes. And when I go over the lane, there'll be a message that says, align yourself with the lines on the actual highway or the street that I'm driving on. And if it happens multiple times, it tells me that I should pull over. And I find it really unique because in this podcast today, majority of accidents occur, you guys, car accidents, are from fatigued drivers. Here's another big thing. Alzheimer's. Yeah. Alzheimer's is attributed to a decline in individual sleep. If you're truly struggling with sleep, you guys, and you're like, I can only get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, have you had a sleep study? Have you? Have you truly had a sleep study? And, oh, okay. So it looks like I got some comments going on here in the chat, and I'll answer those. So it looks like somebody had good quality sleep. Chris had good quality sleep 2 hours ago, or two hours ago, two nights ago. That's good. Well, I'm gonna break this down a little bit more. So the Earth. So I talked about Alzheimer's, right? So Alzheimer's is attributed to lack of sleep. So let me paint a picture for y'all here. The Earth runs, okay, on a 24-hour rhythm, okay? And our brains have what is called a sleep clock, which forms, are you ready for this term? Circadian rhythm. So that circadian rhythm, you guys, syncs in with the 24 hours that are allocated in that day, okay? And this feat is achieved by a part of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, all right? What that is this is a cluster of neurons that are located atop of the eyes and relay light from the sun at sunrise and the dimming at sunset. There's actually some research that showed that without the sun's light to prompt the actual brain, you guys, humans operate on a clock that is slightly off from 24 hours. So the circadian rhythm isn't the same with everybody else, all right? And I'm going to get into all of this. We're essentially differentiated in 3 typical groups. But before I get into those groups, I want to go back a little bit and talk to you guys about that sleep study, all right? And I'm gonna tell you this. So for most of my life, I was a very restless sleeper. I would have to, like, when I would wake up, my beds would be crazy. The sheet would be just in different places. And I truly, you guys ready for this? I truly needed like 12 hours of sleep to feel like myself. And you guys are like, 12 hours of sleep? Yeah, I know, right? So I was like, in my late 30s, I found out, I went and got a sleep study done. And you guys, I'm going to tell you this. So I got my sleep study done, and I was really forced to it because the person I was with at the time, they're like, you got to get a sleep study. This is not right. You shouldn't feel as fatigued. You shouldn't feel as tired. So, okay, I listen. So if you get anything off of this as well, you guys, on this podcast or on this webinar today, is go get a sleep study. If you are fatigued and you're tired, go get a sleep study and also get blood work done. That's another thing too. So I go get the sleep study. I find out. I get the information back 24 hours later. It wasn't an overnight thing. They just hook you up these electrodes, and you come home and you just do a full night's rest. And then they come up with the data, and then they call you on the phone. They tell you what's up. Here's what got me. They said you stop breathing an average of 15 times an hour. I stopped breathing. Okay? That's where the snoring comes in place, you guys. How many of you that have a mate that you just snore? Guys, that's sleep apnea. It's sleep apnea. So I get diagnosed with sleep apnea. That's what I had. Stop breathing for 15 to 16 times each hour when I was sleeping. That was the average. And he says to me, get ready for this, you guys. He says to me, yeah, you don't need to do anything about it, but you're basically like the average of American that could have a heart attack. And I was like, average? You just said average American that can have a heart attack. And I was like, one, I'm a fitness fanatic. I take care of my body. I work out diligently 5 to 6 days a week. I take care of my heart. I do organic beets. I'll talk a little bit about that. But he told me you're an average for a heart attack. And I was like, no. So I said, well, what's the next scenario? So there's two things that they could do. Excuse me. Two things. So they got these new mouth guards, which I kind of wish I would have did now. So it's a mouth guard that you put in your mouth, and it actually projects your chin forward. I'm kind of oddly doing that. So you literally cannot, your tongue doesn't fall back when you, because that's generally why you snore, right? It's either that or a CPAP machine. So I went and got tested. I went and got the brace, the module, or whatever you want to call it, the model for, you put your bite in, all that stuff. And then I got the CPAP machine. Now the CPAP machine, you guys, is a lot of money. I'm not going to lie. And if you don't have insurance, you're going to spend a boatload of money. But I got the CPAP machine. And let me tell you, friends, yes, I'm raising my hand, letting everybody know today, I have a CPAP machine. It is the best thing that has ever happened to me since Quaker oatmeal. and I'm not embarrassed by it. Well, maybe a little bit, because I mean, when I travel, I got to carry it with me. You know, and they're asking you, is that your CPAP machine? Of course, that bothers the ego and that brings me down a little bit, but it has been a trendsetter. I'm more excited about waking up. I get a restful night's sleep. You can see how many times you stop breathing. And it went from 14 to 15 times stop breathing, you guys, to about 1 to 2 episodes an entire night. So, sleep. I want to go back, and if for any of you that got any comments, drop them in the notes here about anything that I talked about. Please ask. So I want to go back now and go back to, there's essentially 3 different types of groups of people that have the circadian rhythm that's different, right? And I'm going to break it down. Here they are. Ready? You have morning larks, right? So these are the people who retire early to bed and wake up early the next day. That's about 40% of the population. Generally, that's me. I generally like to go to bed between 10 and 11 on the weekends, but it's usually around that time. And then if, honestly, I need sleep, y'all, like 9 to 10 is perfect for me. Like, I'm ready to conquer the world. You know, again, everybody's different, but I truly like to stay on that circadian rhythm of like going to bed early, getting up early, and that way I always like to earn my morning shower, which is a book I highly recommend, you guys, is I will go ahead then and work out early in the morning where I got my most energy. All right. So the first group was the morning larks. All right. So again, going to bed early and waking up early the next day. That's about 40% of the population. There's a night owl. And I know I have actually had a client that she is a night owl. And these are the people who have a hard time falling asleep at night and wake up late the next morning. How many of you is that you right now? How many are like, oh, that's me, Michael. I ain't gonna lie, guys, that was me as well. But the problem was I was up late in my 30s playing video games, wasting life, wasting time. That's a whole new different conversation. The fourth type of group, you guys, is the in-betweens. And these are who can swing from being a lark to an owl. Although without their own control, they just adjust to either depending on what type of situation they're in. Now, I'll give you an example. It's very hard for me because right now I would identify as the morning lark, okay? I like to really go to bed at a decent time and I like to get up at an early time. Now, if I'm up with friends and, was at a birthday party and we were out late, like my day stinks because the next day your circadian rhythm still wakes you up. Still wakes you up at the same time that you always get up. It's just part of who you are. And now you're tired. Now you're exhausted. And I'm going to get into that. And when you're exhausted, you're not a good version of yourself. So here's what really happens when we feel we need to sleep, you guys. It's really simple. It's a suprachiasmatic nucleus sends signals to your brain in the form of a hormone. It's known as, guess what? Ding, 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 ding. Melatonin. What this melatonin does, it tells your brain and body you need to sleep. Now, I will tell you, here's my regimen at night before I go to bed. So many people want to know Michael Hicks's regimen. I will tell you. I take 3 ZMAs to go to bed, and I've got these melatonin gummies that I take before bed. I have found that they completely work for me. 100%. Now, keep in mind, everybody's body reacts differently. Like I have a few clients that they are not allowed to take melatonin. So I get it. There's other ways, though. Your body does need magnesium, y'all. Magnesium is another form or a supplement that can really aid in, 1, recovery, and 2, a quality night's sleep. All right? Now, this hormone truly controls our sleep cycle, y'all. And how you can get the most out of your body and why it's important to practice the night or the right sleep hygiene. Now, did you guys know this? I'm going to ask you guys this question. And if you know this, pop it in the comments, please, because I want to know if you know it. Melatonin can be used as a remedy for jet lag as it induces sleep when you shouldn't normally be resting. Did you guys know that? Did you know that? Let me know if you knew that. That was some positive thoughts I thought that you guys would really like. Now, I want to break down. There are different levels of sleep. And in these levels, the brain does the most important work of saving your memories into dreams. Okay? So there are 2 types or levels of sleep. There is the NREM, okay? How many of you guys are like, oh my gosh, I remember this in science class, Michael. This was like in high school, and we forget about it. But it's so vital that you guys know this, but this is the non-rapid eye movement. And then there's the REM, which is the rapid eye movement. Now, the former refers to a sleep type that has a long, slow, and steady brain waves and is characterized by a non-conscious state. Okay? You guys with me so far? Let me see the comments. Anybody in the comments? Nobody's in the comments. All right, cool. Now, while REM describes a conscious yet not awake state that is characterized by sharp, erratic brainwaves. Now, these 2 levels of sleep occur about 90 minutes apart and are necessary for a person to enjoy, you guys, a complete sleep cycle. And how many, drop it in the comments right now, how many of you have just recently enjoyed a complete sleep cycle? Just put your hand up in the comments, type in me, something like that. Now, REM, R-E-M, and N-R-E-M have different functions, y'all. So I want to talk a little bit about the role of N-R-E-M. Is to untangle, unclutter the unnecessary neural pathways created during the day as you sleep. Okay? Got me so far? Okay, I'm going to make it very, very simple. So then there's the REM sleep. Now, what that does, it serves the purpose of strengthening the necessary connections and saving precious memories and learning skills. How many of you ever been at a job and you were like, I just cannot concentrate today? You know why? It's because you did not get a quality REM cycle. Now, if you didn't sleep well, it's going to be difficult for you to organize your thoughts and emotions during the day-to-day task. I realize this, you guys, when I haven't gotten any sleep and I'm working like a beast, I'm emotional. And it's easy for me to kind of like, why am I so emotional today? So is this resonating with you guys? So in order for you to get some quality sleep, your brain has to start off by sending your body into deep, slow NREM waves. That then puts you in a hypnotic state, okay? And you cannot help but sleep. It's just like, I'm sleeping, here it is. Then after which, it sends a much quicker, sharper REM wave that puts you in a awake-like state known as dreaming, okay? Now, dreams, you guys, cover a large variety of experiences, right? That might be impossible in real life. How many of you are like, gosh, I had this dream, and then you take it up with your significant other, and you did this to me, and right? And it like feels real, right? But, and here's the other key piece. How many of you are like, Michael, I never dream? Well, guess what? Not everybody dreams. But it can be an interesting experience if you do. And what I've realized lately is I've been having dreams. I haven't had dreams in quite some time. And sometimes you're wondering like, well, what did that mean? What's my subconscious talking? I'll talk a little bit about that in this webinar here. So I want to transition a little bit here, you guys. As we get older, have you guys noticed your sleep patterns change? Anybody? If you have, put it up in the comments like I have. Say, I have noticed my sleep patterns change. So if that's the case, which it should be, our sleep patterns change through our lifespan. There's no doubt about that. From early as a baby, an embryo, an infant, to a baby, to adulthood, to even old age. And I'm careful even at 51 years old, I'm not going to consider old age. I think I'm still in the adulthood, right? Because what we say is what we are. When a person is a fetus, they spend a great deal of their 24 hours in what is called deep REM sleep. And this is due to very important tasks that the brain undertakes known as, here's a crazy term, you guys, synaptogenesis. Now, synaptogenesis refers to the creation and development of synaptic pathways and neural networks that will be essential for the infant when it's born. Now, however, when it grows to become a young adult, the sleep pattern changes and becomes an erratic struggle between deep REM and awakening, meaning the child will wake several times during the night. Getting this, parents? Makes sense, right? This is because, here's the reason, the brain hasn't synced with the Earth's circadian rhythm. You heard it here on Framing New Heights on the podcast, as well as in the Facebook group here. Now, Many external factors prevent one from having adequate sleep, and it's crucial to learn how to control those specific factors, you guys. Now, when you're moving into adolescence, a child starts to experience more of a decline in REM and an increase in NREM, meaning they'd most likely sleep for much longer up until the end stage of adolescence when there is a spike in their REM sleep. All of this changes though, especially when you reach adulthood. Now, there's a much greater difficulty to fall or even stay asleep for one of the main reasons. And it's why is as we get older, how many of you know this? It's like we got weaker bladders, right? And they get full during the night, and then you got to get up and you got to go to the bathroom. And that happens to a lot of us. I'm fortunate enough that I can last throughout the night and not have to do that yet. I shouldn't have said yet. Ever. I will say ever. I hope you guys laughed with me on that. So as you grow and many things about you change, like we talked from infancy or from embryo stages to infant to childhood to adolescence to adulthood. But what's really important is that you truly identify what makes you feel good about yourself. And you engage, you guys. Here's the key here to getting quality sleep. Do you live and promote a healthy lifestyle? Are you drinking alcohol? Are you binge eating late at night? Sugary foods? Preservatives? Are you working out regularly? Because when we sleep, you will all give the brain and body time to reset and heal. And if you're not doing that, you kind of live in this fog. Am I right, you guys? Do you feel that? Hit yep in the comments. Ever wonder why you're always sick, you guys? Anybody ever wonder? Gosh, I'm like sick all the time. As I'm doing this podcast, I'm sick. But I caught a cold, I think what it is, or it's allergies. But here's the thing. Sleep is vital for your brain. In fact, the brain is the chief beneficiary of sleep. And I talked about Alzheimer's. I talked about that earlier in this webinar, in this podcast. And it helps the brain to unburden itself of excessive, unwanted information picked up from the day before. Did you catch that? And as we go through the day, our senses pick up on so much stimuli in our environment. And in today's day and age, we've got computers, we've got scrolling words on a TV, we've got radios, we've got everything around us, so much stimuli. So this can be a conscious or unconscious process. So as we sleep, you guys, we rid our brains of excessive information, right? It's like process overload. Now, NREM, sleep, is responsible for freeing up space in your brain so you can learn new things the next day. How many of you are constantly learning? Say, I am in the comments. I am learning in the comments. Please do so. If you're not, what's your purpose? Secondly, sleep is vitally important for the conclusion of a day of learning as it helps strengthen and establish stronger neural links and pathways associated with newly learned data, which is the REM cycle. Now, this second benefit of sleep also extends to increase proficiency in acquired skills. All right, are you guys ready? If you're a student catching this, I'm not a student, I'm a student of life. Actually, I'm a student, I guess, a student of life. Yeah, okay. But these skills are important, like for math, open heart surgery, riding a bike, flying a plane. But you're like, Michael, I don't do any of those. You don't do math? You don't balance a checkbook? You don't have a spreadsheet on how you do your finances? Do you ride a bike? Should. In addition, sleep also increases creativity, you guys, which is another example of REM sleep. Because when we are deep in REM, your brain recreates and replays the day's activities and memories and whatever data you encounter in a colorful manner. This is usually the birthplace of the most outlandish and most creative ideas. I forgot who it was, but there was I don't know who it was, but he would lay at bed and he would hold this steel ball. And when he would fall asleep, he would get into that REM stage. And that's where all of those outlandish, most creative ideas would happen. So he'd fall asleep and his hand would then fall over the side of the bed and the ball would drop and hit on the wood floor, causing this big thunk, right? It woke him up. And then what did he do with those most creative ideas? He wrote them down. Gosh, I forgot the guy's name, but very, very vital is my point to all of that. That's where the most creative ideas come from. Oftentimes, you guys, our dreams aren't really one thing we actually saw, heard, or even smelled, right? It's our brain's way of making an art form from all the pieces it gave it. So it's really unique on how beautiful our organ works, that brain. Now, here's the deal, y'all. I'm going to be straight up frank to you, positive, right to the point. You guys ready for this? When you lose sleep, it comes back and haunts us later. I'm going to attempt not to get emotional on this because I've been grieving a little bit, but I'm going to talk about a great friend of mine that recently died of a massive heart attack. I worked with him. Dr. J, this is about you right now, brother. Wherever you're looking. We love you. Rest in peace, my friend. He died of a massive heart attack 3 days ago, 5/3/24, so whenever this airs. He died of a massive heart attack. And you guys, insufficient sleep is tied to heart attacks. Goes back to what I talked about when I got my sleep study. You stop breathing 13 to 15 times an hour. Not during the course of the night, an hour. You got sleep apnea. Do you want to be average? Do you want to be like the average Americans that die of heart attacks? Now, there are a ton of dire consequences of insufficient sleep, you guys. So I talked about heart attacks, but sleep can be beneficial to your brain. The lack of reduction can adversely affect your brain, okay? A few of the ways that the lack of sleep affects us are as high chances of car crashes, which I talked about. It comes with insufficient sleep, but reports say that fatigue-related accidents are more likely than, you guys ready for this one? More likely than alcohol or drug-related deaths. Crazy, right? Here's another important piece about sleep, a lack of sleep. Emotional irritability is a result of sleep. And you have then rash comments, rash actions, and will increase as you deny your brain of rest. How many of you just like, man, I was just mean to that person? Might be because you don't have enough sleep, okay? You also have, with lack of sleep, increased tiredness and bing, 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 forgetfulness are other symptoms of sleep deprivation as well. Now, are any of these hitting with you guys? Like, holy cow, he's talking directly to me right now. Well, I talked about this as well. Alzheimer's arises when you deny your brain with the needed sleep hours. Now, as adults, most of us need 7 to 9 hours. Full cycle sleep. If you're not getting your full cycle sleep, you need more hours of sleep. You need to determine that. There's so many different devices. In fact, I'm going to give a plug right now. There's a Whoop. There's a Whoop out there that you guys can get. Tracks your sleep. Tells you what kind of sleep. There's so many things out there. In fact, if you get it, I think you get a month off for free. It's in the description. This previously scary illness has been found to have link to sleep, or lack thereof, I should say. We should take our sleep health, you guys, very seriously, because it will be debilitating to the condition in which it will give you. And everybody that knows me, I don't mess around with my sleep. And anybody that knows me, I don't play with my sleep. I'll tell you guys this real quick. I was out in Vegas one time. I was out there with a friend. I was exhausted. Came in around 6 o'clock. I slept, stayed in, went to bed at probably 8 o'clock. Slept at 8 o'clock the next day. Sleep is more important than anything else, because insufficient sleep, you guys, can weaken your immune system and it can leave you prone to life-threatening diseases such as cancer. Yeah. Because when your immunity is low, it's increasingly easier for just about anything to crawl into your bloodstream, even something as dire as cancer. And I talked about this, you guys, heart attacks. They can also be associated with high cholesterol and genetics. But through research, insufficient sleep is the catalyst to heart attacks, because it actually leads to a weak metabolism. Okay? And what it does, it aids and builds up of unwanted food in the heart's pathways. And then what does that do? It causes obesity, which ultimately leads to heart attacks. So if you keep going through life without adequate sleep, your brain will slowly deteriorate, bottom line. And so will your body. And thus, guess what comes next? It weakens your vital organs. Now, as I talked about, dreams are a result of your brain playing with your thoughts and kind of imagination and memories to create this marvelous new stories. Dreams, you guys, also are a marvelous form of manifestation of our thoughts and a sensory information of result of deep REM sleep. Now, you guys remember the guy, his name was Sigmund Freud. You guys remember that? Brilliant mind, right? He theorized that dreams are a wish fulfillment and endeavor, right? And according to modern science, we might be able to prove he was actually right or wrong. We've come to learn that dreams, you guys, are in fact a mixture of logical, illogical thought processes mixed with our experiences of the day, week, or the last 3 decades of our life. Wow, right? That's just a lot. Now, an all-around reduction in quality of life is the result of sleep deprivation. The brain alters deep NREM waves and sounds. Not only does it do that, you guys, but it initiates the dream, right? Let me say that again. So the brain alters deep NREM waves and sends deep REM waves instead of initiating a dream. So you're like, well, how does it do that, Mike? Well, when we enter deep REM sleep, there are 4 areas of brain that actually are turned on, okay? Stick with me here. I'm getting a little scientific on you. But there's a visual perception. That's the part responsible for movement. The part responsible for autobiographic memory, and the part that controls emotions. These 4 parts work hand in hand to trick your mind into believing. How many of you been like, you've fallen, right? You're falling, right? How many are like, I've fallen in so many dreams, but I always wake up before I fall. That's a really good thing, because I've heard that if you don't wake up, that's not good. But I don't know, because it hasn't happened to me. But what I want to say is that what's so cool with these 4 parts, they work hand in hand to trick our mind into believing that what we see, hear, feel, and smell are really real. And this is also because the part of the brain is responsible for logical reason, the prefrontal cortex, because it will shut down throughout. These 4 zones, you guys, are actually 30% more active when we dream, meaning that to dream is to feel more awake than awake. Does that make sense? So you guys remember Sigmund Freud, like I talked about? What exactly happens in a dream? Well, Freud said that that they were unfulfilled wishes manifesting in disguised forms, a way to bring our heart's desires to pass in our sleep since we can't get them in real life. This theory isn't based on science, and as science has told us, the function of dreams or REM sleep is to strengthen neural pathways made during the day. Blah, that was a lot, right? Did you know that dreams alter your brain's chemistry and make you feel refreshed? Did you guys know that? Yeah. So dreams help us decode details of what happened earlier in the day. I kind of talked about this earlier. And it benefits us from the REM sleep. This breeds creativity, as shown in a study done by a guy by name of Walker. Patients were made to solve puzzles and unscramble words before and after sleeping, with one half getting REM and the other getting NREM sleep, respectively. What do you guys think? Who did better? What do you think? Surprisingly, the group that had REM sleep was far more creative than the one only had NREM sleep. So they were more eager to solve problems and they undertook tasks with little stress, while their counterparts, guess what, were notably flat and uninspired. Is that you? So sleep disorders and conditions, how they affect the sleep patterns, you guys. Let me get into that a little bit there. There are various sleep disorders, medical conditions that either occur during sleep as a result of sleep or in hindrance of sleep, all right? Sometimes these conditions are really misdiagnosed and truckload of sleeping pills are prescribed, right? How often is it easy for Big Pharma to just give you stuff? I got you. Everything you can find is from Mother Nature. Melatonin is right there for you. One of those conditions are explained. Let me kind of break them down for you. Now, I'm going to butcher this term, but I'm going to do the very, very best. Somnambulism. This condition refers to sleep. I'm just going to call it somnus. Somnus disorders that involve some sort of movement, ambulation. It encompasses conditions such as, you guys ever done this? Sleepwalk? How about sleep talk? How about sleep eat? How about sleep text? That I have not done. Sleep sex? Don't know how that would work. And very rarely sleep homicide. This is often associated with REM sleep, but it actually is a malfunction during NREM sleep where the body experiences a jolt of nervous experiences. The other condition is called insomnia. You guys are probably very aware of insomnia. This is the inability to sleep. It is often set off by either a psychological strain or an emotional strain. It has two variations to it, an onset sleep insomnia and maintenance sleep insomnia. The former refers to the inability to fall asleep, while the latter is the inability to stay asleep. Now, these two conditions can affect one person extremely sadly, right? It shouldn't be confused with willful sleep deprivation. Insomnia is a very serious condition, and if you know anyone who has it, take them and seek them to have professional help right away. I need to get some water here. Now, the consequences of sleep loss, you guys, in the form of insomnia are hypertension, anxiety, cardiac failure, and great stress. Now, if you have any of those, you should be questioning your sleep. There's also another term called narcolepsy. You guys ever hear of that? I used to have a girlfriend back when I was in my 20s that had this. Unbelievable. This is a condition that is characterized by a total detachment from society and a nonchalant attitude towards anything but sleep, manifesting as excessive daytime sleeping, like apnea sleep, paralysis. Like the first symptom is a state of sleep attacks, where the patient is just forced to sleep against their own wishes regarding where they are or what they are doing. I literally remember she would be sitting there, next thing she'd do, boom, she'd be out. Now, the second symptom refers to inability to move or talk when you're asleep. This is a result of deep REM sleep, which is dreaming, right? It's called a cataplexy. It's a pseudo sleep state that mimics REM sleep and leaves you actually paralyzed. It's a unique one. Now, there's a term called FFI, which is fatal familial insomnia. Now, this is a genetic sleep disorder that is caused when there is an attack on the thymus. This keeps the sensory signal awake always and keeps the patient from ever being able to sleep. That's a scary one. Now, despite these devastating consequences of not sleeping or sleeping enough, you guys, there is such a thing as too much sleep. The healthy amount of sleep you need is around 6.75 to 7.2 hours. I disagree. Whatever you feel, for me, it's like I've already told you guys this earlier. For me, it's between 8 and 10, depending on the day. But the study that I found and the information I found, they say anything higher can actually, anything higher can actually increase and not reduce your mortality risk. Now, as I'm wrapping all of this up today, does anybody have any questions so far? So, as I wrap up this episode today, sleep is important to any living creature as oxygen is. It benefits are vast and profound, and it keeps us from cheating ourselves from chance to actually live a long, sumptuous, beautiful life. As we live out our days, we encounter more and more reasons why sleep is either unimportant or inaccessible. You need to cultivate a habit of sleeping, you guys, and it can literally save your life. Our daily lives pose a danger to our sleep health. Some non-medical things actively steal our sleep. A few of these modern causes of insufficient sleep include the advent of constant electric light as well as LED. Stop looking at your phones an hour before you go to bed. Stop it. Stop. Because those external factors can ruin your sleep. But it's up to you to take note of them. Just take a note of it. Take a note of how you sleep and how you feel from when you have the phone in your hand before you go to bed to when you don't. Technically, they say, too, that you shouldn't even have it in the same room. Mine's on the other side of the bedroom because it's mostly my alarm clock. I also want to tell you guys this. Eat healthy foods. Set a standard time to sleep each day. Weekend, weekday, still the same. And stay away from those electronic devices, especially at bedtime. Because if you feel unwell, it's best to see a doctor, you guys, right away. And I literally, if you are feeling fatigued, restless, you don't get quality sleep, do yourself a favor and be good to yourself, love yourself, and then that happens to love your family even more because get a study done. Because if you do not sleep enough, you guys, you can't be a good parent, can't be a good significant other, you can't be a good spouse, can't be a good mate, and I use that word can't for a reason. And you surely cannot be good at the job that you're doing. And nothing, you guys, beats taking care of your health at all times. I like to always say this, and if I gave you $1 million today, would you take it? Everybody's like, oh yeah, of course I'd take it, right? Of course. But what if I told you I'll give you $1 million today, but you cannot wake up tomorrow? Puts things in perspective, doesn't it? Tells you how much you should value your health over money. As I close, I want you to think about this. It's time to take and manage and monitor your sleep schedule. So here's my challenge for all of you until we meet again a week from today, is I want you to monitor your sleep schedule. I want you to write it down. And ensure that you're at least getting between 7 to 8 hours of sleep. The studies that I'm finding is they're saying 6.75 hours of unassisted and unmedicated sleep from day in and day out for rest for a long period of life. Until next time, my friends, be better. Be 1% better in mind, body, and soul. And if you have any comments, please drop it in the comments. And as always, stay flexed.